Pierre Poilievre had assembled the Conservative Party. He has been one of the most successful Conservative leaders that we've ever had in terms of fundraising, candidate recruitment, support in the polls, solidarity of the caucus in the Parliament of Canada.
It's absolutely delusional. Like, maybe in these metrics that don't equal winning, but great. You grifted from your supporters the most. Amazing.
Effectiveness in Parliament as opposition leader. And then the ballot question changed overnight because Donald Trump has declared economic war on Canada.
He said one of the most effective
opposition leader.
One of the most effective opposition leaders. That is truly absurd to say. Like, that is just such a bullshit claim to make, especially if he loses this fucking election.
Changed overnight because Donald Trump has declared economic war on Canada.
So I just want to circle back to what he said about Pierre Poilievre being supposedly one of the most successful opposition leaders Canada has ever seen, because I feel like that is a statement that needs the brakes to be pumped on for a second and some reality to be interjected in it. Because first off, someone should explain to this guy how you become historically successful without actually like having won anything, because Poilievre has been around Ottawa for what feels like forever, yet he's never won a general election. Last I checked, the scoreboard still counts for something. Jean Chrétien, Stephen Harper weren't exactly cuddly figures, but at least they converted their opposition cred into prime ministerial wins. Pierre's claim to fame right now is topping a few opinion polls, which lately seem to be about on the Liberal side and essentially being dictated by Donald Trump's mood swings. The other point is that strategy has basically been to channel his inner message board troll, just hurling insults at whoever's in power while hoping that no one notices that he's running a policy platform built on vibes and slogan. Axe the tax, verb the noun. It sounds catchy, but what's next? Burn the bureaucracy, defund the wokes. Successful opposition leaders from the past, Pearson or even Mulroney, God forgiving for even invoking the name of Brian Mulroney as example of nuance, but at least they pretended to have detailed policy ideas. Poilievre's game is all flash, no substance, less Ronald Reagan and more like dollar store Ted Cruz. The other thing, we got to talk about Poilievre's grand talent for polarization, because the man is he's like a walking Facebook comment section. He calls Trudeau a wacko, gets himself kicked out of Parliament, and manages to alienate everyone who doesn't mainline Rebel News. And opposition leaders historically succeed by broadening their coalitions. Think Laurier pulling the Liberals together, or Layton turning the NDP into a viable force. Poilievre seems content to rely on narrow core of angry suburban dads and crypto bros. And that might win you the meme wars, but it's much less effective when it comes to governing a country of nearly 40 million people. And speaking of governing, let's briefly touch on foreign policy, an area where Poilievre comes across as hopelessly as out of depth as any other politician, any of his counterparts, right? Like, remember when he tried to thread the needle on Trump, shifting nervously between quiet appeasement and performative toughness. If you compare this to the awkward dance of past opposition leaders like Saint Laurent or John Turner, who at least knew their way around like the diplomatic cocktail party without embarrassing Canada. Poilievre's approach to international relations feels like watching someone awkwardly attempting to perform brain surgery using like a YouTube tutorial. The last point about this is that like when stacked up against opposition leaders who genuinely shifted Canadian political history, Wilfrid Laurier building the modern Liberal Party, R.B. Bennett revitalizing the Conservatives, or Jack Layton pulling off the improbable feat of making the NDP official opposition. Poilievre is little more than a footnote among those. He's noisy, sure, and he knows how to go viral. He knows how to put butts in the seats, but he doesn't know how to get the votes. The votes from the folks are just not turning, and it's not the same as having any type of actual political influence. The bottom line is that Pierre Poilievre isn't some historically transformative figure in any way. He's just another ambitious politician who thinks yelling louder than the other guy makes him somehow Winston Churchill in comparison. If you revisit his quote-unquote success after he actually wins an election, until then, it's all just background, because all of these claims signify a lot, but in the end of the day, you need the results to come through. And if they don't come through, it's just not going to happen.